Don't do that. My child knows my story. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Let me unmute myself and then hold on. Y'all know me, man. Y'all know how I get it in. Slow and steady wins the race, brother. Slow and steady wins the race. Oh, I got all this stuff over here. Hold on. How y'all doing tonight? How y'all doing tonight? How y'all doing tonight? How y'all doing tonight? I know I've got quite an interesting caption of this stream. Something that you've probably never heard before. And I hope so. I honestly hope so. I hope this is something that isn't a common thing. I hope y'all can hear me first and foremost. I don't know why my video capture is acting funky, but that's okay. You know, we figure things out. That's what we do over here. We figure things out. There we go. All right. Right. Let me make myself a little bit smaller. I don't need to take up that much of your screen. I know y'all like me, but I know y'all don't like me that much to where I need to be taking up the whole screen. So I'm gonna check in. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing tonight? How y'all doing tonight? Somebody let me know what y'all been listening to. Who's your favorite artist at the moment? What's your favorite song at the moment? I don't know. What's something crazy you saw that? I hate this thing because all the chords are dumb long. So it's just being dramatic. What's something crazy you saw that I don't know you want to report on? You going to any of the LA shows? What LA shows are you referring to? That's the question. Well, the answer is no, regardless. Just because, like, nah, I ain't got it like that to be going to LA and popping it. I ain't, the channel ain't doing that well. I wish it was, but nah, I ain't going to no LA shows. What y'all think about what y'all thinking about this? What do y'all feel about this new Ye headline, this new story that he's gonna be doing a concert? Gonna be doing a concert in LA. How do y'all feel about this? I already know my thoughts to a certain extent, but I want to know. I want to know what everyone else is feeling. Just because it's always good to get outside opinions. I don't even know why I strictly listening to City Girls, Lotto, and Ice Spice. Hey, brother, you stuck in like 2019 if you listen to the City Girls. They had a run though. I ain't gonna lie. The City Girls had a little run where they was solid. They was solid. Strictly PZ. You were the dude mentioning PZ in the previous stream, weren't you? If he comes to Arizona, would I go? That's a great question. Probably not. But I mean, hey, I'm gonna give it like another few minutes, like maybe like another 90 seconds before I start talking. Just to get a few people in here, and then we can just get the ball rolling. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm streaming to get these thoughts off my chest. I want to know what y'all got to think about it, but if they're in here or not, it doesn't matter. As long as his fan base does not cancel him, he will never be canceled. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Young Thug concert in Arizona tomorrow. You going? What? I didn't know that. Is that true? I didn't know that. If that's true, oh wow, that's crazy. There's no way he's on tour, right? You're capping. And he's only performing so much fun at Barter. So yeah, you're capping. No way. All right, we're just gonna get straight into it. We're just gonna get straight into it. Should I even? I'm gonna ask y'all. Should I even continue to stream on Twitch and Kick? Like nobody ever joins on Twitch and Kick, so it's like, what's even the point, right? But whatever. So we'll just start with the article, right? Oh, I didn't even realize it. This was on here. Kanye West's LA concert sees over 1 million people queue for tickets. Okay. Kanye West recently announced he would be performing a one-off show in Los Angeles, and the demand for tickets has been through the roof. When artists pre-sale tickets for the concert, which is set to go down at SoFi Stadium on April 3rd and will be his first in America in years, were made available on Ticketmaster on Tuesday, March 10th, over 1 million people were in the queue at one point in time. The general sale will go live on Ticketmaster on Wednesday, March 11th, tonight, while artists who register on Ye Los Angeles and pre-save Ye's upcoming album Bully will be put into a draw to potentially receive free tickets. Kanye West's concert will be his first appearance. What am I talking about? Kanye West's concert will be his first performance in Los Angeles since 2021, although he's released music in the years since, including Donda 2, two collaborative albums with Ty Dolla $ign, and a scrapped album that featured his highly controversial song, Heil You Know Who. He's been in the headlines for anything but his music. In January, he took out a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal apologizing for all the anti-Semitic and racist remarks he had made over the past few years. His first shows following his apology letter, which were met with a mixed response, went down in Mexico City that same month. His last major concert in the U.S. was when he and Ty Dolla $ign headlined the opening night of Rolling Loud California in Inglewood in March 2024. Ye was in the court on Friday, March 6th, to face handyman Tony Saxon, who is suing the hitmaker for alleged unpaid wages, unsafe working conditions, and wrongful termination in relation to a former Malibu mansion that West purchased for $57 million in 2021. According to Rolling Stone reporter Nancy Dillon, West yawned repeatedly while answering his questions with his eyes closed. He also said he couldn't recall most of his interactions with the defendant. Not sure why they threw that little tidbit in there at the bottom, but regardless. Basically, the story is Ye is back. Kanye is back in the mainstream public light, and he will be performing at probably the biggest venue in the biggest city when it comes to, mainstream pop culture, Hollywood, all that stuff, and that is Los Angeles, California, of course. Now, when I saw this, I'm going to be honest, I was not surprised. I wasn't surprised that Ye was able to get clearance to do a show in a venue like this. Because at the end of the day, Ye is profitable. For as much as he's controversial, he's about 2 times, 3 times maybe as profitable as he is controversial because of the groundwork that Kanye has been able to put in over the last 25 years now at this point almost. So him being allowed to, do a show in Los Angeles wasn't that shocking to me. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. How could they? More than anything, I felt like, oh my gosh, I think I'm lagging. I don't know. Regardless of if I'm lagging or not, I'm just gonna keep going, bro. Like I can only control so much. I'm sorry. When I saw this, I thought to myself, okay, that's interesting. But as I was driving home from work, I kind of got this thought in my mind, and I was like, Kanye West is a diva wide receiver. That's all Kanye West is. That's the easiest way to break down this entire situation. Oh, my Wi-Fi is so shit. Moment of silence for the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry. I can't even do a basic stream. I'm sorry, y'all. But in my mind, I was like, Kanye West. I can't. My mouse ain't even working no more. Like they really don't want me to stream, y'all. They really don't want me to stream. Um, yeah, but in my mind, my first thought was Kanye West is a diva wide receiver. And what I mean by that is that this isn't anything special. The Kanye situation, the controversy, the offending people, that's nothing special. Now, obviously, wide receivers in the NFL aren't as controversial as Kanye West are. As Kanye West is. That'd be ridiculous to say. But I think that Kanye West is a diva wide receiver in the same way. Yeah, you know what? You might be right. I'm just gonna stop streaming on the other sites because nobody joins there anyways. I'm probably just wasting power or whatever the technical terminology is. Um. Uh. And the reason I said this is because I've been an NFL fan my whole life, and I've seen a ton of diva wide receivers, guys who are super productive, super elite at their position, some of the better players in the entire league, in the entire NFL, but they were quite difficult to deal with. And that's just kind of a thing that comes with a great wide receiver more times than not, right? Obviously, you have somebody like Jerry Rice, who is at the top of the top, and he doesn't really carry that reputation in the same way other guys do. But the biggest wide receiver of my childhood, my growing up formative years, was Odell Beckham Jr. And Odell Beckham Jr. was the classic case of the diva wide receiver. If he's not getting the ball, he's acting out. If things are going, a certain way, ref isn't throwing the flag when he thinks he should throw the flag. He's acting a fool. He gets a touchdown. He's in the end zone. He's dancing, doing all type of crazy stuff. He's on the sideline messing with the kicker's net. He has a whole anime saga with the kicker's net. And these were all a part of the experience with Odell Beckham Jr. He had the hair, the hairstyle. He's hanging out with Drake. He's a whole celebrity. He's on Instagram dancing. Like, there was a world that came with having Odell Beckham Jr. on your team. And for most of the NFL owners, most of the NFL front office, most of the coaches, it was quite annoying. It was quite annoying, but at the end of the day, you ate that because of what Odell Beckham was able to produce on the field. Another guy who fits into this is Antonio Brown. Now, Antonio Brown wasn't really a diva wide receiver until like the very end of his career, at least not outwardly, right? We didn't really get a ton of stories like, man, this guy Antonio Brown's hard to deal with until he was at the very end of his run. But Antonio Brown is another one that fits that. Very eccentric. His haircut is crazy. He talks crazy to people. He misses, team meetings. He gets somehow his toes frozen in cryotherapy. Like, these are men who are eccentric to a point where it's almost like it almost feels like a bit of a requirement. It almost feels like a bit of a requirement to be so elite at that position because it happens so often that it's almost rare for there to be a top 5, top 10 level wide receiver and they don't have a crazy ego. They're not a huge brand. They're not a huge name who's dressing crazy before the game. Odell Beckham's playing with a bust down AP on or whatever type of watch he had on. Like, there are so many examples of the diva wide receiver. And it's kind of like the hot crazy graph. Everyone's seen that YouTube video, that old dude where he's like, there's a graph and there's a line between hot and crazy. There's a hot and crazy index where you can be a certain level of hot and that allows you to be to a certain level of crazy. But once you pass that level of crazy and your hotness doesn't equal up, it's a bad thing, right? We've all seen that. That is basically Kanye West. He's the hot crazy index. He's the diva wide receiver when it comes to music. Because like the diva wide receiver, you'll put up with the antics when the numbers are there. When Odell Beckham is the best receiver in the league, or arguably the best receiver in the league, and he's, showing his ass on Instagram, not literally, but you know what I mean. He's getting taunting penalties. He's getting uh, what's it called? Unnecessary roughness penalties, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties because he's fighting with Josh Norman. You accept all of these things. You say, listen, you as the coach or as the front office guy, the GM, you get in front of that podium at the end of every single game, and you say, "Listen, I understand that what he did isn't something that everyone's going to agree with. I understand that he can turn people off, but at the end of the day, that's our guy. We stick beside him, and you stick beside that guy as long as those numbers are there." And that is what Kanye is, and that's excuse me, what Kanye really has been for his entire career. He's a diva wide receiver. Now, obviously, Odell Beckham, punching a kicking net is a lot different than Ye turning into a self-proclaimed NAZI. Those are two completely different things. But I think that in principle, it's very similar. It's very similar because if Ye didn't have one of the most streamed rap albums of 2025 with Graduation, despite it being a 20-year-old album, if he didn't have all these hits, nobody would be making room for him. Nobody would be caring about an apology. Nobody would be trying to justify anything. Nobody would be trying to have these talks of forgiveness. All of this exists for the simple fact that Ye is a producer of numbers. All of this exists for the simple fact that people still love his work to this day. Nobody would be making these reservations for him if there wasn't a level of production, numbers wise or appreciation wise. Because whoever made the final call on allowing Ye to perform at SoFi Stadium, this is what they're hanging their hat on right here. This is all they have to hang their hat on. You could say anti-Semitic, you could say he's this, he's that, you could say he endorsed Diddy, you can say all of these things about Ye, and all of them might be true. All of them might be accurate. All of them might be horrible. But at the end of the day, this is what is focused on. Over 1 million people trying to buy tickets to a show. So at the end of the day, with this country, right? With this country, with this society that we exist in, everything surrounds money. Everything surrounds the dollar. Everything surrounds profitability. And that is king over anything, right? A lot of people like to speak on cancel culture. Now, I've made, I think, multiple videos at this point, just flat out saying cancel culture is not real. It's not real, and it never really has been real, right? Somebody mentioned earlier in this stream, somebody who was a watcher said that Ye is always going to be fine as long as his audience doesn't cancel him, and that's 100% correct. And that's the thing with cancel culture, right? When we look at cancel culture, more times than not, it's really just people yelling at you on Twitter who more times than not weren't really fans of you in the first place, right? Um, what's his name? What's his name? The country boy, Morgan Wallen, right? When Morgan Wallen got exposed for saying the N word, that didn't ruin his career. Yeah, there was a little bit of controversy. He had to apologize. The label put out a statement, and he might have got benched from public appearances maybe for a week or two. But that didn't really damage his career, and that's because his audience doesn't care about that. Anybody that would be upset with Morgan Wallen for saying the N word wouldn't want to support him for saying the N word. Anybody who would feel so strongly about that type of person and using that type of word was never a fan of his in the first place. So it's like me right now. Like I'm allergic to the like seafood, right? That's like me coming out with a public statement after, let's just say hypothetically, I don't know, Red Lobster has some bad whatchamacallit, like food inspector reviews, right? They go in there and they're like, they not washing their hands in here properly. They not doing things correctly. And let's just say they kicked my mom out of Red Lobster one time. And so I get on social media and I say, I'm boycotting Red Lobster. No more Red Lobster. Red Lobster is unfair. Mr. Krabs is in there, whatever, right? I start my own protest. That doesn't change anything because I never went to Red Lobster in the first place. So no matter how much I can drum up attention, or no matter how much I can, try to get people like myself who don't like Red Lobster already, no matter how much we talk about Red Lobster, We weren't their fan base in the first place. We weren't the people putting money in their pockets. So no matter how much I get mad at Red Lobster could kick me in the face, punch my dog, spit on my mom. It doesn't matter because I never went there in the first place. I was never a customer in the first place. So cancel culture is not real in the sense of people being upset with you because of something you did, and it's not your people, right? It's not your people. He's already faced many consequences. Unless he is proven guilty of another, he should never be canceled. I mean, if that's how you feel, right? But um, when it comes to not being able to have a career, when it comes to not being able to put out music, when it comes to not being able to move forward, that only exists from your fan base, right? Only your people can cut off your water. And people aren't going to cut the water off of somebody who still has something that they love. Ye still has amazing music. What he says on Twitter doesn't take away from his classic albums. And I'm not saying that this is right, but I'm saying that this is the case. It's just the truth. People still go to Ye for his music. Maybe not his new music, but they still go to Ye for his music. And if you are talented enough at what you do, you can't be canceled. I'm sorry. You can't be canceled. Sure, you can face repercussions, you can face consequences. Things can look bad for you, things can change. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as any sort of consequences, but you will never be canceled. And that's why I look at somebody like DaBaby and I say, I don't want to hear excuses about your career, right? I don't want to hear, oh, well, they're demonic, and I didn't want to do. You had a number two song in the world, brother. You had multiple big hits. You had 100,000 albums sold. If you have to sell your soul in order to have that type of success, you was selling your soul too, right? If that's what you got to do to have success, you didn't just get there because you were noble and you're just come on now. But with the homophobic comments that DaBaby made, that's not why your career stopped. Your career stopped because your music isn't good. That's what it was. I'm not saying the controversy didn't play a factor in it, but you can only be canceled. The door can only be shut on you. The water can only be turned off when you're not producing something that people want. Look at R. Kelly. R. Kelly still to this day has millions of defenders. They don't even try to say he didn't do it. They just say they don't care because he made great music. Chris Brown. Chris Brown has a mostly female fan base still to this day because he makes good enough music for them. So nobody can turn your water off if you're really talented, if you really have what it takes. If you're somebody that's maybe propped up by the industry, propped up by cosigns, propped up by connections, propped up by all these other sorts of things, and somebody pulls that chair out from under you, then yeah, maybe you can be canceled. But if you're really like that, it's not possible. Look at Kobe Bryant. Look at Kobe Bryant. Come on now. It's literally that Family Guy skit where they're arresting him or whatever. He's in the interrogation room and he spins the ball on his finger and they go, ooh. If you're really like that, you can't really be canceled. So let me see some of y'all comments. Only instance I thought Ye was truly canceled was when bank institution closed off his accounts. Even then, I feel like that's beyond cancellation. And you know what? That is a repercussion for his action. I don't know if I would call that cancellation in the way that people like to call it, but even if it is cancellation, right? People are allowed to feel a type of way about you. And if I'm your bank and I am a Jewish person or I have Jewish family or we are a Jewish owned bank, yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't kick you off. But then again, I don't think that's cancellation. That's like if I hypothetically, let's just say I hire one of y'all in the chat to be my chat moderator and y'all help me out. I'm paying y'all to moderate my chat. Y'all are providing me a service. And then I go out the window and I start saying, let's just say crazy things about Mexican people and you're Mexican or you don't play like that. And then you're like, I'm not going to be your mod no more. I can't look at you and be like, this is cancellation. No, I can't do that. As a Ye fan, the things he said and done is understandable. Is an understandable reason why people are trying to stray away from him. Too much damage caused, although I know he isn't. Exactly. Yeah, that's fair. Like it's just it gets to a point, right? You can only say so many things so many different times until it's just enough is enough. Let's address the real. Which I mean, I don't like AI. I don't want any AI music. So I mean, that's yeah. Yeah, already dropping AI tunes. Yeah, I have seen some of the stuff that's AI. I know that half of his camp said it was re-recorded, the other half still said it's AI. Yeah, I don't know what the truth is on the Bully album. To be honest, I haven't really kept up with anything Kanye related recently. Just this headline. The closest I've gotten to really paying attention to any Kanye, I haven't paid attention to any of the Bully stuff. I did see that he released Donda 2, which had a few songs on there that I had wanted a long time ago. Um, and I guess that's cool, but I haven't really been kept up with Kanye. I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to the show in LA. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't go just because I don't have the money for that. So even if I really wanted to, but do I really want to? I don't know. Of course, I would love to see Ye in person. I've never seen an actual Ye show just because I was super, super young, obviously, at the time of his peak. And I didn't have, my parents weren't like, we weren't the going to concert type of people. So I never been to a Ye show. I only started going to concerts uh really recently, like over the past few years or so into my adulthood just because I have my own money now. So down to the worst album ever. But this whole situation really just proves the point that I've been saying for years. And it's that you can never be canceled if you're good at what you do. You can't. That's why I say Kanye West is a diva wide receiver. Like AJ Brown, right? AJ Brown, AJ Brown on the Eagles last year he was doing some of those antics. He's answering the media kind of funny. He's reading books on the sideline when he's not getting the ball. He's going on streams with people talking about, he's struggling with his life. And maybe this is something outside of football, but again, under the context of what the stories were at the time, it was pretty clear that AJ Brown was not happy with the fact that he wasn't getting the ball. And that was pretty annoying for the Eagles organization. Yeah, you could tell that they just were really annoyed by the whole situation. They wish he would just stop. They wish he would just be, a regular dude, regular football player, and get in the post. I was about to say post fight, the post game scrummage, media scrummage, and just be like, yeah, God, football family, and like leave it at that. But he wasn't doing that. But when you threw him that ball, for the most part, he was producing. Now, it got to a level where I don't know if the Eagles think it's worth it and they might move on. The antics might be a little bit too much, but still, when you give him the ball, he's an elite guy. When AJ Brown gets that football, he's one of the best in the entire game. He's one of the best players in football, regardless of position. So there's that carry, there's that trade, there's that crazy to hot ratio. And with Ye, he's still within the range of that crazy to hot ratio where it still makes sense for a lot of people in their mind to support him. I don't know what it would take for Ye to get fully canceled. I don't know if he could ever be fully canceled. And until he does something that's truly irredeemable, there will be businessmen who are willing to engage. What that truly irredeemable thing would be, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if I would go as far as to say, like, a murder or something crazy like that. But I think that there's always going to be a space in the business world. There's always going to be a space in the performing world. There's always going to be a space in any sort of performing art world for Ye. It might not be a space as big as he would like it to be. It might not be as big of a space as it was 20 years ago because of his actions, but there's always going to be a space. There's always going to be room. And most importantly, there's always going to be demand. Demand is what is the king of everything. Demand. If there's no demand for you, nobody cares what happens to you. Nobody cares how the media treats you. Nobody cares how other fans treat you. Nobody cares how award shows treat you. Nobody cares how the record label treats you. Nobody cares how the streaming service treats you. Again, if we're going to look at an example, look at DaBaby. DaBaby is the antithesis of what happened to Ye. DaBaby gets his first ever real controversy where people are actually kind of going at him over the homosexual, the homophobic, I should say, comments, and everything starts crumbling. And that's because there's no demand for DaBaby. Nobody cares if he got shafted at an award show. Nobody cares if Rolling Loud or whatever doesn't want to book him anymore. Because he was there, he was popular, yes, he was popping, but there wasn't real demand. There wasn't real demand. He was there. It's kind of like the baby was kind of like a charcuterie board, or maybe like finger food at a little party or something, right? It's nice to have. You, if you see it there, you might pick off it. You might get you something off the little fruit board. You might pick off a little piece of watermelon. But if the fruit board is there, that doesn't make you not want to go to the party. If the charcuterie's there, you're not like, I don't know if I'm gonna go to the Super Bowl party, y'all. They don't got the little cheese squares. But if you get invited to a Super Bowl and you hear that there's no hot wings, there's no pizza, there's no food at all, you like, I'm not going there. I'm not going without these things. So in this example, I don't know why I'm still stuck on football. Maybe just because the free agency stuff has been going on. In this example of the Super Bowl party, the Super Bowl party, whatever. Ye is the buffalo wings. He's the dip that everyone loves. He's the pizza. He's the soda. He's all these things. And DaBaby is the charcuterie board. DaBaby is the fruit with the little dip. He's the carrots with the little dip of ranch in the middle. It's nice to have. I'm not complaining if it's there. I might even get me a little nibble or two off of it. But that doesn't make or break the party. So for Ye, I expect him to be around for a very long time doing this exact thing until either his fan base goes away, which probably won't ever happen, or he just starts releasing music that's so trash that it actually ruins his legacy of his previous music. That's the only way. It's the only way. Excuse me, sorry about that. That's the only way there's a world without Ye having some sort of room with some businessmen out there willing to take the risk. Because even if you look at what Kanye, who he went after, right? The Jewish community, obviously, when you say anti-black stuff in America, nobody cares, right? Racism against America, black America, nobody cares. Nobody really cares. You might get a little slap on the wrist. They might tell you no, but nobody cares. In 6 months, you'll be fine. The country runs on anti-black racism. But with the Jewish community, that's a bit different, right? That's taken a little bit more seriously because a lot of the most powerful people in the world are Zionists. They're Jewish Zionists, or they're just Zionists in general, right? They don't even have to be Jewish. And so when you say something about them, it gets a little different, right? You see the walls start closing in a bit faster. But even then, because people say, oh, Jewish people are so protected. Even then, with the stuff that Ye has said about them, you see this headline? This is all that matters. This is all that matters. All that matters. Over 1 million people ready to buy tickets to the concert. So there's going to be someone out there. It might even be somebody who is Jewish, who's like, hey, the dude apologized. I really don't care. Show me the money. Show me the bag. Yay, come sign this deal. Come sign this contract. Because you, my friend, are good for business. The average Ye listener is so removed from his post-Donda music, I don't think people would notice if he were to drop Dookie music. Facts. Ye should have stuck to fashion in a Pharrell way, ironically. Maybe. I don't know. I thought he was doing something cool with the Baby Gap. I don't know why I always call it Baby Gap. With the Gap deal where he was like supposed to be selling clothes for like $20 or something like that. That was pretty cool, but it is what it is. I also wanted to talk about this as well. Let me pull up. See, because I was going to make this into a whole video, but then I changed my mind. Right? I changed my mind. I was like, I'll just talk about it on stream a little bit. My next video is genuinely insane. Like, my next video, what I'm about to put out, you might think I'm a crazy person, and that's fine. I might be a crazy person. I don't know. I just feel like I have a lot of takes that I want to get off my chest that might be a bit unhinged, but I think that they're me, right? They're like me in my truest form, my truest sense. They're me really come to life. So I'm just gonna do it anyway. Hold on. But really quickly, I want to talk about this thing to do Discord calls every now and then. I tried to on the last one. I was gonna do a little bit of the debate of Future and Young Thug, not Young Thug, NBA Young Boy, but nobody joined the Discord thing. It was kind of sad. It was quite a bit embarrassing. When's the next paycheck? I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot on my mind, like Cardi said. But I want to talk about this epidemic of rappers becoming jesters, and I think that this is a very interesting thing. Um, and what I mean by jesters is I mean this whole situation, right? Let's see. Right. This. Is this on the screen? See, yeah. You're a poli sci major? Oh, well, just like me. Just like me for real. Okay. This is why does this thumbnail look so crazy? Who made this? Why does Aiden like he looks weird? Like, I mean, he always looks weird, but he looks really weird in this. Let me just click on the video. Let's just click on the video. I'm not gonna actually play it. I just want yeah, let's see. Is there like a closer okay. We'll just stop it there. So earlier in this year, 6ix9ine, to quote a lot of internet people, internet users, 6ix9ine went on a generational run, right? He had a resurgence in the internet zeitgeist. He became relevant again after not being relevant for a few years. I mean, he did the Spanish music thing, and I heard he was popping it over there. I heard he was doing his thing. But in terms of the, let's just say, hip hop adjacent world, he was not relevant, and he hadn't been for years. And then he started, he did the interview with Vlad TV, right? Let me take my glasses off. I'll spit facts only, all that stuff. Um, Other quotable moments. 6ix9ine's always been a very entertaining guy, internet wise. And then he starts getting linked up with these streamers. He's with Neon. He's with Deshae Frost. He's with 6ix9ine, or he's with 6ix9ine. He's with Aiden Ross, and that's really where things really took off even further for 6ix9ine. Now, during this run, 6ix9ine, like, you could not get him off of your For You page if you were on TikTok. If you had Twitter, his clips were everywhere. You couldn't really avoid 6ix9ine. But the thing was, while he was gaining this popularity, while he was doing all of these things, musically, nothing was popping off, right? Maybe a few songs had some spikes. He had the little diss song to Doechii, I guess, with Aiden Ross and Cuff 'em, and that did fairly well on YouTube. But in terms of Spotify streams, nothing too crazy. In terms of Billboard charts, we don't even have to speak on that. His music didn't move, and he did release some new music, but it didn't really do much of anything. And what this was 6ix9ine understanding that he didn't have a fan base. 6ix9ine hasn't had a fan base in a very long time, at least not a music fan base. Let's say that, because he does have a fan base, but not a music fan base. And a lot of rappers are like 6ix9ine. And I think that what we're seeing is we're in a new world of rap where you need diehards. And I don't just mean people that like your music. I don't just mean people that stream you every now and again. I mean real diehards, people that know every album, people that show up to every show, people that are there every release, people that watch every interview. Like, I mean people that are really dedicated to what you do as an artist. And I think that the biggest example of that is somebody like Don Toliver, who I spoke about maybe about a week ago, where I was speaking on him and I was saying that Don Tolliver really snuck up on me as a star. Like I knew he was big, I knew he was popular, but I didn't know he was the type of guy to be selling 100K first week. I didn't know Don Tolliver was the type of guy who could sell out an NBA arena in most of the cities in America, right? 15 to 20,000 in most cities in America. I didn't know he would be picked as a Rolling Loud headliner. He just kind of snuck up on me. And that's because despite him not having major Billboard hits, top 10, top 20 hits constantly, despite him not, having an album that blew up to 300K first week, he was slowly building with his people, and that fan base was just getting bigger and bigger. He was very similar to someone like Rod Wave. Rod Wave has a very dedicated fan base. He might not be the biggest in the world, but his turnover ratio from listeners to diehard fans is like 70% of his listeners are diehard fans, where the average rapper, maybe 20% of their listeners are diehard fans. So they're able to consistently build, and they have these people holding them up. And in this modern landscape online, if you don't have that, you're gonna have a very hard time staying consistent and consistently having numbers, right? That's why we see guys like Lil Baby who had a dip in his career. That's why we saw Young Thug have a dip in his career when he came out of jail, because they didn't have that reliable fan base. Of course, they're super popular. Everyone knows their name, but who's really checking in every single day? Who's buying merch? Who's buying tickets? Who's listening to the album every day? They didn't really have that consistently. So 6ix9ine, being somebody who did not have that and still really doesn't have that, he understood that, and he had to play the jester game. And that's where we get this thing of somebody like academics, somebody like academics who always damn, I just lost my train of thought. I should not have checked my phone. Damn, I just lost my train of thought. I was speaking on. Oh, that's where we get somebody like academics, where he always brings up that rappers are no longer the super cool guys to the kids and stuff. It's the streamers. The streamers are the cool people. That's why you see the rappers always trying to link up with these streamers. That's why you see them trying to pop up on Neon's stream. That's why you try to see them pop up on Aiden Ross's stream. And that is very true. And it's because these guys, in order to be a live streamer, of course you can bot, but in order to be a live streamer, you need that type of fan base. You need that type of fan base that I was speaking about with Don Tolliver, with Rod Wave, with NBA Youngboy, with Playboy Cardi, because nobody's just going to show up to watch someone for hours on end every single day. You're not going to get 30,000 people to do that if they don't really rock with you, right? So they have to play the jester role and start entertaining these guys. And that's why you see 6ix9ine, who, maybe he would have linked with somebody like this 7 years ago, but more likely than not, a lot of these rappers would have never paid these dudes any mind. They would have never paid an Aiden Ross any mind. And that's why when this whole thing first started, a lot of them tried to get on stream and Lil Bro him. They tried to get on stream and Lil Bro Tyson that, and Lil Bro Aiden Ross, and give him a nugget. This my little homie, this my little man's, and act like they were doing this as a favor to them, trying to make them cool. But in reality, some of these dudes really needed it. And so you see somebody like a 6ix9ine, and they're bouncing around from stream to stream, and they're playing this game that rappers typically don't play. And it's the smart thing to do in this situation. So it's not like I'm saying that, he's wrong for doing it. It is the smart thing to do to try to get attention, but it's a game at the end of the day. It's a game that you have to play when you don't have a real fan base. So when you see these guys bouncing around like this, it lets you know that they need to do it. You don't see the people who I spoke about with that type of fan base constantly going on stream. They might do it because it's fun. They might even do it for the sake of a rollout. They might even do it for the sake of marketing if they have an album coming up or something like that. You might see a Travis Scott do a stream or Drake do a stream, but they don't have to do it, so you don't see them. The people that are constantly orbiting these types of guys need to do it. They need to. Playboy Cardi doesn't give a damn if he goes and does a stream or not or whatever, right? Somebody like NBA Youngboy, he doesn't have to sit in front of a screen and entertain the audience because his audience rocks with him regardless. He doesn't need any more attention than what he's already getting. So when you see these dudes that are constantly on these streams, they're playing that jester role to try and get they're trying to get that attention back. But the thing is, it doesn't translate. It never translates. That's why even though 6ix9ine was having a generational run, his generational run was on TikTok and it was on Twitter. And Instagram Reels, these clips, these memes, all this stuff was going crazy. Millions of views everywhere. But at the end of the day, they never translated to music. The closest they got was a troll song with Aiden Ross and Cuff 'Em, where the highlight of the song is Aiden Ross dissing Doechii. It's not even 6ix9ine. The highlight of the song is the fact that, oh my gosh, Aiden Ross and Cuff 'Em are making a song with somebody who actually was a successful rapper at one point in time. So these guys, if you look at what's going on in the music industry, you either go the way of the Don Toliver or you go the way of the 6ix9ine. Those are the two methods right now. And I think that what we saw with somebody, the link, yeah, I know. I'm sure it did. It's been a while since I updated it. I can update it again. But what we saw with Lil Baby, I think over the last year or so, specifically with that newest album, Leaks, was him attempting to go the way of Don Toliver. Because if you please everybody, you're pleasing nobody. And not DaBaby, Lil Baby, excuse me. Lil Baby, for the longest, never really super engaged with his own fan base in the way that some of these other rappers do. He never singled out the rest of everybody else. He never tried to hone in on his fan base because he was the mainstream guy. He's the guy whose name is everywhere. It's this Lil Baby. Oh my gosh, oh my God, Lil Baby. So he was trying to play everybody's card and appeal to the casuals. He was trying to appeal to his own fans. He was trying to appeal to new fans. He was trying to appeal all around, kind of like somebody like Drake does. But he didn't already have his own established fan base. So when you're giving attention all over these places and you're not showing the people love who are the people that actually love you, it gets a little spooky. So Lil Baby over the last year or so has been trying to repair that. And sure, you might not have liked Leaks, but from what I've heard, the consensus from most Lil Baby fans is they actually really did enjoy Leaks. It might have only sold 40K first week if you combine the first and second week because he dropped it on like a Thursday or something like that. But still, I think that album and what it meant for Lil Baby's career at the moment that it came out was a success. So you play that jester role, and you know who low key is the ultimate jester of rap. I was gonna make this an entire video, but I just don't feel like I could have worded it in a way that I really wanted to, or I don't know. The ultimate jester of rap is Soulja Boy. Soulja Boy is the greatest rap jester of all time. No one's even close. No one is even close. Soulja Boy has been like a pretty relevant, I think he still kind of is, but he's not relevant musically, but he's still like a relevant name online. He's been relevant since 2007. Some people in the chat might not have even been born at that point in time. 2007. That's how long Soulja Boy has been a relevant person online, a relevant figure. And none of it over the last like 15 years, what is it, 2026? So maybe over the last 12, 15 years has been musically. Most of the time, he's not relevant for music. He's beefing with people. He's telling crazy stories. He's streaming. He's doing all these things. But more times than not, it's not music related. Soulja Boy had a #1 hit in 2007 and hasn't sniffed one since. And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful. I'm just being real, right? Soulja Boy does not have a diehard fan base. Nobody is swearing up and down by Soulja Boy's music in 2026. Nobody was swearing up and down about Soulja Boy's music in 2020. Nobody was swearing up and down about Soulja Boy's music in 2015. Nobody was swearing up and down about his music in 2010. Nobody was swearing up and down about his music in 2007. They liked his songs, don't get me wrong, but it's not like Soulja Boy had this huge diehard fan base of people that just like thought of him as one of the best rappers in the game. Of course, he had some hits. He has good music. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Soulja Boy has trash music all around, but I'm saying Soulja Boy's never had a real fan base. But at the end of that's not true. I shouldn't say never. For a majority of his internet career, his online career, he hasn't had a big fan base, but he's always known how to stay relevant. He's always known how to play the game so much better than anyone else. You know who recently started playing the game like this? Ray J, over the last like 10 years, right? But Soulja Boy has outlasted a lot of the people who were relevant, who actually did have fans from his era. If you look at the last 5 years or so, who's more relevant? Somebody like Soulja Boy or Nelly? That's really random. But Soulja Boy, I would say Soulja Boy has been in more relevant headlines over the last 5 years than Nelly. And obviously, Nelly was one of the biggest artists in the world at a certain point. But Soulja Boy is willing to play that role. And I honestly, I kind of do like Soulja Boy, so I don't mean to be disrespectful when I'm saying this. I'm just being honest, right? Soulja Boy, I was going to make a video on this like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I was going to title it I was gonna title it "The Cockroach of Rap," and I know that sounds so disrespectful, and it kind of is. But the whole point I was gonna make in the video was that Soulja Boy survives any and everything like a cockroach, right? They say one of the only living creatures that would survive like a nuclear blast is a cockroach, right? They live in extreme heat, they live in extreme cold, they live in extreme dirt, they live in extreme, you know, moistness. They live everywhere, right? Just because they just know how to survive. It's hard to kill a cockroach. They just know how to make it, okay? And so that was going to be the whole preface, the whole theme of the video was that Soulja Boy was like a cockroach. And I was going to go through all his moments, the beef with Kanye where he's going crazy, the beef with Drake, the beef with Quavo and the Migos, the him turning into a blood, him doing all of these things over the years. It was going to I wrote the script. I started the script. And then I stopped myself because I was like, that's just a little too disrespectful. I can't call this man a cockroach and not expect him to have like that's ridiculous. Now Quavo's Migos diss in 2016, I still listen to that to this day. If you've never heard the Quavo diss by Soulja Boy, you need to hear. It's one of the best. It's one of my favorite diss songs ever, just because it's absolutely hilarious. And it's like it went viral, but like at the same time, nobody really took him seriously. Like we all heard the song and we're just like, bro, what even is this? But Soulja Boy, dang, I appreciate that, Angel. I appreciate that. But Soulja Boy is the original jester rapper, and he does whatever it takes to be relevant. And he might luck into a song every now and then that does well, like Soulja Boy with the Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty, Rick. He might luck into something like that every now and then. He might have a song that gets a little buzz. He might end up on Donda 2 after cussing out Ye for leaving him off Donda. Like it's not like he has zero musical moments over the last 20 years or so, but more than anything, he's a master of attention. He's a master of attention. And there are a lot of rappers who are going to start to fall into this role. I think that Iggy Azalea with the Neon thing has fallen into that role because let's just be real. Iggy Azalea hasn't been relevant musically since, let's say, 2016, and she hasn't been relevant internet-wise since whenever she first announced her OnlyFans. And the Neon thing has completely revived her, mostly due to Neon and his fan base and the juice she's gotten from there to now she is somebody who, you know, she's not super relevant, but that name pops up every now and then, and you're like, oh, okay, Iggy Azalea. That's not crazy for me to see an Iggy Azalea headline in 2026. It's not ridiculous like it would have been in 2024 or 2023, where it's like, who even cares? So 6ix9ine, in that run he went on, was generational, but it was generational for content. It was generational for clips, for kick.com. It was generational for TikTok. It wasn't generational for music. It wasn't generational for his music fans. All it was a resurgence within this new world, which I think I've been saying this for years. I've been saying that like 6ix9ine just needs to start a podcast or something like that. Whenever he drops music, it's crickets. But whenever he starts opening his mouth and talking wild stuff, that is when he gets the most attention. That Soulja Boy, that Soulja Boy diss track to Quavo. Quavo said he wants some beef with me. If you don't know that song, now that might be an internet classic for real. Quavo said he wants some beef with Big Soulja. He crazy. Like the Drake interview, all of that stuff. Soulja Boy is the greatest troll rapper, greatest jester rapper of all time. Because I can't name you 5 Soulja Boy songs in the last 5 years. I can't. The Rick and Morty song, I don't even know if that came out in the last 5 years. That might have been like the pandemic. So that might not even count. I can't name you 5 Soulja Boy songs in the last 5 years. I can tell you who he's beefing with. I can tell you about his beef with Blueface and the baby mama thing. I can't talk to you about music with Soulja Boy because I don't know anything about his music. But that's not the point. He knows damn well, no matter what album he drops, no matter what music he drops, bro, people just ain't gonna like it. Like, it is what it is. But he finds a way to keep himself relevant. I think that Blueface is the modern era Soulja Boy. I think that Blueface might age as a Soulja Boy type of artist where he has some hits. He even has some good music early. I really like Blueface's early music. Like 2018, excuse me, 2018, 2019, I was a fan of his music, bro. Pull up on that block and I bleed it. Slide. If I don't catch. My senior quote is a Blueface lyric. They did a typo on it, which really made me mad. But my senior quote is a Blueface lyric. 6ix9ine modern / internet Joe Budden. That might not be ridiculous to say. Obviously, Joe Budden is a much better rapper in terms of what they were able to do on the microphone, but that might not be ridiculous to say. I could see him having a podcast with as much success as Joe Budden's podcast just because people are entertained by him. He's a very provocative guy when he's speaking. But I think I think Blueface is this generation's Soulja Boy, where people aren't really knowing him for anything going on musically. Of course, we all know Buzz Down, Tatiana, and I think that the Dead Lokes. I think some of his early music was fire. I ain't gonna lie, but nobody knows him for anything he's doing in the studio. We are watching Twitch clips. We were watching reality show clips. Him and Krishan, him and the baby, him and his beef with Soulja Boy, him and his beef with NLE Choppa, him and like all of these things that are happening with Blueface and these crazy internet moments, but none of it was music related. But he knows that. See, Blueface isn't dumb. He knows his music ain't popping like that. He might be able to get a song maybe every few years now, or you might be able to get a feature or do something. But his time is much better spent on Twitch. His time is much better spent hanging out with Samaya and getting, clip farming with her or clip farming with whoever else. That is where his time is much better spent at this point. And he knows that and he understands that. And that's why he's able to keep himself relevant while, and I don't mean disrespect by this because I think the guy's a good artist. Polo G isn't somebody that we see anything from because he's not playing these types of games. He's not. He's not playing these types of games. Polo G isn't trying to get on stream. Polo G isn't trying to, do all these things. Oh, wow. I'm just checking this tweet. Hold on, y'all. We got some news. We got some Cardi news, allegedly. Allegedly some Cardi news. Hold on. Good thing I just checked Twitter. Kirko, shout out to Kirko. Playboy Cardi says he's about to drop again, and I'm finna drop again. Yes, sir. I'm about to drop. I got you. Cardi in text with academics. I'll call you later. Thank you, King. It's Cardi. Thank you for making me look like the king I am. Love you. Always. I got your best intentions at heart. I know, Ak. I do love you for real, man. Couldn't wait to see you. We great. Just keep being great. Last year was your year. Don't let these dudes breathe. This your year. Yes, sir. I'm about to drop. I got you. Yeah. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. What is J. Cole talking about? Oh my gosh. I don't know what he's talking about. I have a feeling J. Cole is going to do. He's going to do the Grits and Eggs podcast, and it's going to break my heart. Not because I don't like, because I love Deontay Kyle. I love him. I love his content. But it's just, we're mutuals on TikTok, so it feels like it's so close. And I'm like, dang, man, I wish that was me. Like, it's envy. I'm not going to lie. I do envy what he's got going on. I do. I can't lie. It's not hate. I don't want him to fail or anything. I want him to be great, but it is envy. I wish it was me. But I guess J. Cole's gonna be doing some interviews recently. All right, this might be me taking things a bit too far. Let me know. Let me know. I might be tripping. But is Yeet naming his album ADL a little weird to anyone else? Wait, I feel like I have to whisper when I talk. Like, is that kind of weird, or am I taking it too far? Maybe I might be taking it. But let me know. Like, is that not? I don't know. I don't know. Y'all let me know. Am I tripping? Like, when I see that album title, I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I don't know. Whatever. Whatever. We'll move on. We'll move on. We'll move on. Apparently, there's gonna be an extra date for the Ye show. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? The tickets for this Kanye show are selling so fast and it's so fruitfully that they had to make a second date for this show. That's crazy. That's crazy. I can't believe that. And it's so funny because people would have swore up and down that, oh, he'll never be back in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you say, bro. As long as people rock with you, as long as you produce, bro, you can do anything you want. You can literally do anything you want in this country. Like, it does not matter. Apparently, Drake is dissing people again. That's cool. You know, that's the Drake type of thing. Oh, one of these albums gets dry. Yeah, whatever. Oh, Lil Baby dropped an album for Trendsetter. I don't think he'll have hype for this new work. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You know, he's I guess we'll have to see. I actually do like this song from Lil Baby. This is one of the better songs, and you know what it does? It targets women, and women are the best fans of all time. I'm telling you, if you do anything in this world where you need a fan base, you need to make sure you are addressing women, and maybe that's my biggest issue. Maybe I don't talk about women enough because they are the real supporters. They will love you, support you. Look at somebody like Ari Fletcher. What is she known for? I don't know. She's famous for being famous. Kim Kardashian, famous for being famous. But this song is fire right here. I like this song a lot. Miss Trendsetter, whatever she do, they bite. I love this song. I'm not gonna lie. Even though, you know, it's clearly not for me. But I think that people are you know, taking this the wrong way. Oh, it's for the women. Yeah, it is. Shut up. Look at what's his name? Buddy that be tricking on all the women. Boston Richie, the one that be dating the underage girls, the predator. He gets a pass from a lot of women online just because he makes that simp music. Oh, buy him a song. Buy. I'm gonna buy you a bag. What if he ain't gonna buy you a bag? I'm gonna buy you a car. He ain't gonna buy you a car. Your man don't send you no money. He makes that type of music. So the women love him. Did you listen to the Netspin? I have not listened to the Netspin NBA YoungBoy song. I don't like Netspin's music, to be honest. I haven't heard this album, so I can't say it's not good. Apparently, Anthony Fantano doesn't think it's good, but I don't know. I don't know. I might check it out on my own time. I might not. I don't know if I feel like getting upset because sometimes when I listen to those types of artists, the Netspins, the Shays, the Osama Sons, some of these dudes, I get upset. I get genuinely upset sometimes because it just makes me, I don't know. I don't know. But this is gonna be a short stream, y'all. I'm gonna call it. I am starving. I'm starving. I'm starving. I'm starving. I'm very hungry. I got a new video on the way. It's literally me just going insane on a script. You're gonna think I'm crazy when you see the title, when you see the thumbnail. I don't care though, because maybe I am crazy. And of course, I get my peak in viewers as I'm cutting out of here. But I love y'all, man. Make sure y'all have a good night. Be safe. Be blessed, man. Be on the lookout for this new video in the next few days or so. I'm not sure when it'll come out, but it definitely is gonna be my most unhinged take I've ever put out publicly. But I think it's my most correct take that I've ever put out publicly. So I guess we'll see what happens when we get there. I appreciate y'all, man. I'm gonna go have dinner and all that stuff. It's getting late. I gotta be up early in the morning for work.